right, welcome to today's episode of Tomorrow's Leader, where we dive deep on all things leader related to leading yourself and leading others. I am John Laurito, your host, and here we are at take two, because I was midway through my podcast and I was not recording it. That's right. Every so often I forget to hit that big magic record button. But wow, it was good. I got to tell you, it was one of the best episodes I've ever done, and nobody will ever get to hear it. So I'm going to do it now even better. How about that? Okay, so today, now the title of this may not really make you anticipate what the topic is going to be. I got a feeling you're going to think it's time management or it's all about prioritizing, and that's great topics, and I have and will continue to cover topics like that. But today's topic is a little bit different. And what came from, how this came about was I was watching a movie with my son. And I got to say, this was like the best movie, one of the best movies I have ever seen. And I have no idea how I'd never even heard of it before. My son asked me, hey, have you seen this movie? I'm like, no, I've never even heard of it. And it came out like in 2013. I'm a big movie buff. I feel like I've seen or heard of just about every movie out there. And it even has Rachel McAdams in it, who's a phenomenal actress. And I still had never heard of it. It's called About Time. So if you have not seen this movie, it's a great movie. It's got a great message. It's a great cast. It's a lot of fun. It's a heartwarming movie. Check it out when you get a chance. I don't do many movie reviews on here. Maybe I should do some movie reviews every once in a while, because there are great leadership movies. So in any event, I'm not going to give away the movie at all, but I will tell you one scene of this movie. And the scene had to do with a guy going through the course of a day. And it was basically, a really kind of high pressure work situation. There was some, he was late for some stuff. He was just a really fast-paced day. It was one of these things from one thing to another. And you could tell it was not a good day. It was just one of these days that you wish you could skip and just not go through. He got, at the end of the day, he's lying in bed with his special person, and she asks, well, how was your day? He said, it was really horrible. It sucked. And he basically had an opportunity, because part of this movie has to do with being able to relive certain things. And he got an opportunity basically to go through that same day again. And this time, and I think it was her that said, well, why don't you just do this differently and go through the same day, but just pay attention to things a little bit differently. I can't remember exactly how the scene at that point went, but he ended up going through the day. And this time, he actually took a whole different approach. He had a whole different attitude to the day. The thing that was really stressful at work, and it was just this really ugly kind of situation with a boss, yelling at one of his coworkers, and it just created this really tense environment. And instead of really getting swallowed up in it and taking it personally, he kind of made light of it and almost poked fun at it. He went into his next situation, and instead of passing by and not paying attention to somebody he was interacting with, and this was a cashier that had this great attitude, like this really just bubbly voice, big smile, great personality. And prior, he had just kind of blown her off, not even interacted. This time, he took a moment, looked her in the eye. How many times actually do you check out of a place and you don't even look at the cashier in the eye? Or we even have a conversation. Hey, how are you doing today? Good, doing well. And you're still not even interacting. You're not even looking the person in the eye. I catch myself doing that. I mean, you're just so busy. You're concentrating on stuff, whatever. In this time, he took the moment to just have a conversation with the person, smiled, and bottom line is, and he started just paying attention to the things that were happening in the day. By the end of the day, he was in the same situation. His wife said, how was your day? He said, you know what? It was a great day. It was a great day. And it's interesting because all the events happened the same way, but he took a different approach and noticed things he did not notice before. He appreciated things he didn't appreciate before. He drew satisfaction from things he didn't take before. He had interactions with people in a different way. And it was still the same. It was kind of two different people going through the same situation. One coming out of it with a horrible feeling and a horrible attitude, and the other one coming out of it with a grateful, positive, and really appreciative attitude. And it just made me really think about how much we control our feelings and experiences, and ultimately, if we can do that in one situation, we can do that and totally change the outcome of a day, and then we can totally change the outcome of a week. And if we get really good at that, we change the whole direction of our life, right? So if we think about it, I mean, ultimately, we control our attitude. Nobody can control people can influence my attitude, but nobody can control my attitude. I'm the one who decides ultimately if I'm going to be in a good mood or a bad mood, honestly. I mean, of course, you have stuff that happens that puts you in a bad mood, but I'm the one that chooses to stay in that bad mood. If something makes me angry, I'm the one that chooses whether I'm going to carry that anger into my next phone call or meeting, or my next interaction with my kids or somebody special that is now changing that interaction. But I'm the one who chooses to carry that through the whole day. Or I make the decision and I say, you know what, I'm going to put that behind me, or I'm not going to let that person get to me. I mean, it's amazing because I talk to leaders sometimes and I'm like, they'll have one interaction, one bad meeting, and then they'll be with me talking about that really bad meeting. And then in another meeting, talking about that bad meeting as well. And all of a sudden, this meeting, this one interaction that they had maybe at the beginning of the day has had this ripple effect throughout the whole day. It's now caused them to be less of the leader than they could have been. They've now negatively influenced other people because they let that one interaction, they gave power. It's like a fire that you give extra oxygen to that now it's building instead of snuffing it out, right? I mean, think about that for a minute. How many times does something happen in your day that pisses you off, frustrates you, and it impacts how you are throughout the day? And you convince yourself, you're like, okay, well, something didn't go right, whatever. It could be something small. It could be, you get caught in traffic in the morning and because you or you miss a turn and you're now caught in traffic or caught at a light, and you convince yourself that it's not going to be a good day. Because of that, you know what? I'm just miserable. This is just not going to be a good day. And you know what? Hey, it's not going to be a good day. But more importantly, as a leader, not only is it not going to be a good day for you, it's not going to be a good day for the people that you're interacting with because you're going to negatively impact them. That's the power of leadership, right? So if we can figure that out, and it's interesting, we sometimes lose sight of how important the small stuff is, those small moments. You don't get the chance, like this movie, to rewind and relive stuff. You get one shot. So you might as well take the time to appreciate and notice the stuff that's actually happening and the situation that you're in. Every once in a while, I'm like sitting at this great, beautiful desk that I had made I did an episode about it, and it's gorgeous. And I'm like, every so often, I'm like looking down at the grain of the wood and stuff. I'm like, that's really neat. But how easy is it? Sometimes we sit in an environment, we don't even appreciate what we have around us. I was in the middle a couple weeks ago of prepping for an upcoming keynote speech. And, I was kind of deep in thought, deep in concentration. My phone buzzes. It's a text, and it's my neighbor. And my neighbor says, hey, John, I don't know if you're home or not, but if you are home, there's an owl that's perched on your roof, you might want to come out and take a look at it. And I actually thought for a minute, I was so deep in thought and like focus and concentration. I'm like, let me just stay focused. And then I'm like, owls are pretty cool. I don't know about you, but owls are really, really cool, fascinating animals. And so I'm like, all right, let me go out there. And sure enough, this owl, I mean, how often do you see an owl? I don't know. I can count on one hand the number of times I've seen an owl. I hear them, but to see them, and this thing is perched, and he's big. He's perched on the peak of my roof, and he's just sitting there hanging out, looking at us, doing what an owl does, turning his neck and stuff. And I'm out there talking to my neighbors, chatting it up and stuff. And I'm out there for, whatever, like 10 or 15 minutes, just admiring this thing. And it just was such a cool, peaceful, enjoyable moment. I got some cool conversation with my neighbors that I wouldn't have had before. And I ended up going back inside, and it was amazing because what I thought was going to happen, it was the opposite. I thought I'd be derailed or distracted, and it would be hard for me to get focused, and now I'd lose my momentum. That was the reason I didn't want to take the break to look at the owl. And in fact, I actually was more focused, and I had one of the best ideas I've had. And a part of a presentation, a story that I want to tell that illustrated a point perfectly. And I was trying to find it, and it was like magic. I sat back down, I started working on it, and it came to me. This story, I'm like, yes, perfect. And it became part of my keynote, which was a big success. But I think I'm like, had I not taken that moment to go out there and see that owl, I would have lost that cool opportunity. But I wouldn't have done it because I would have thought it would have done the opposite. And in this case, it actually was a benefit. It helped me. So my point is, you got all kinds of stuff around you that we ignore, that we are in such fast forward mode that we're going a mile a minute. Believe me, I know how it is. You got a million things on your plate, and sometimes you just need to take a breath. You just need to take a break. And you've got to look around and just pay attention to the stuff that's happening. Take a walk outside, talk to that neighbor, grab your kids, go, grab some lunch, pick up the phone, call somebody you haven't talked to in a long time. Just do the stuff that you typically haven't done in a long time or don't do, or sometimes don't take the time to really appreciate, and do it. And amazingly, it changes your whole attitude. It does. It's amazing. Sometimes we get stuck in a certain mindset because that's how we started our day. Well, it doesn't have to stay that way. You control how you feel, right? You decide what attitude you're going to look at things. I love the story that I heard a long time ago, and two shoe salesmen go to Zimbabwe or some country to sell shoes, and the shoe manufacturer sends them both out. One calls back and says, listen, I don't know why I'm here. This area, they don't wear shoes. I don't even know what I'm doing here. And the other one calls back and said, wow, this is amazing. They don't even wear shoes. What a phenomenal opportunity. So, two people put in the exact same situation that view it entirely different. Attitude is everything. So, in any event, great movie again, About Time. I think it was 2013. Check it out. I think it's on Netflix. Fun movie, good stuff. Made me think about this concept, and hope it helps you. Hit the pause button. Take a break. Just take a look around you. Take a smell of what's around you. Go outside. Listen to the birds chirping. Do whatever you got to do. I'm telling you, sometimes you miss some of the best things around you because you're in fast forward mode. And when you slow down just for a minute, take a breath, sometimes your next best idea is just on the brink. It's waiting to come out, and you actually need just a moment, a break, to have it just enter your mind. Just like me going out there with the owl, I had my best idea as soon as I got back. Just trust me on this, it works, okay? And it changes your attitude. So I hope that helps. As always, I'm here. Give me a buzz. I've got a couple episodes I'm going to be doing based on two people that called me recently for some advice with some great issues. I'm like, okay, great stuff. I'm going to share that with the audience. I'm here for you. So give me a buzz. You've got my contact info in the show notes. You can email me, call me, whatever. I'm here for you. As always, like, share, subscribe, and give me ideas on future content, future guests, and go down below, give a 5-star review. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.